Today, we're going to discuss powerful tools for overcoming burnout and facing imposter syndrome. Joining me today is Dr. Gail Gazelle, MD. She believes everyone needs resilience. Hi, Dr. Gazelle.
Hi there. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you so much. Okay, so this topic, let's dive into it because it is so important and it's something that everyone faces. So let's start with burnout, especially as we are overcoming the last few years and kind of pivoting and transitioning in our lives and careers. What is happening with burnout across the nation?
Well, sadly, burnout levels are extraordinarily high, and we're seeing this in healthcare and education and civil service. We're seeing it in so many sectors of the economy that people are drained, they're worn down, they've lost their sense of meaning and purpose, and they're even somewhat cynical about their working and the value that their work can have. So it's really been a destructive force, I would say, throughout many, many sectors of the economy.
Yes. And so as a result of this burnout, what do you see? What is something that is trending right now as people try to face or find a solution for such burnout?
Well, the solutions are challenging, aren't they? Because
Yeah.
levels of burnout are so high. You've all heard about the great resignation, quiet
Mhm.
quitting, people showing up to work but not really giving their all, not
Mhm.
caring in the same way. And so the cost of that to all of us as a society is really tremendous. I mean, my angle is healthcare. Obviously, we want healthcare workers who are invested in the care of us and our loved ones when we're sick and
Mhm.
we need that care. And so it's vital that we find ways of helping individuals overcome and stay out of burnout.
Yes. And so you do coaching to help with such a subject. So can you give us some tips? How do we recognize burnout and overcome it, or at least try to?
There are a number of measures that we can take. I think we can tell when we're burnt out. We're dragging through our days, right? We have a sense of exhaustion, even if we get a good night's sleep. And that sense of cynicism, that sense of why bother, nothing I'm doing matters anyway, really kind of pervades our entire being. So we need to be on the lookout for burnout because there are a number of steps we can take to get ourselves out of it and even to prevent it. And
Oh.
one that I'll introduce right now is that when we're burnt out, it's almost like we have blinders on. We only see the negative. We
Hmm.
can't really connect with the good in terms of what we're doing and the good around us. So one very important tip is that we keep an eye on what we are accomplishing as opposed to what we aren't. When we get into bed at night, for example, many of us do a little inventory. Oh, I didn't do this well. I didn't do that. Look at
Right.
what else I have to get done tomorrow. And we can correct that by actually making a list of 3 things that we accomplished during the day.
Mm.
That can help fuel us. It can help us sleep better and not wake up worried about what's left to do and actually be more refreshed for what we bring to our workplaces the next day.
That's really good. That's really good. So just focusing on the positive and focusing on what we did accomplish, because burnout, like you said, is just that it's more negative thoughts. It's just that feeling of just wanting to give up.
It's the negativity bias on
Hmm.
steroids, frankly. And so it's not about just putting on a happy face and oh, life is wonderful, but it's about finding a balanced view of what you're doing well and what you're accomplishing. Because no matter what's going wrong, I think for most of us in our workplaces, there are often many things that are going right, and we need to kind of shift our focus so that we can take those in and allow them to nourish us.
Yes. Okay, that's awesome. And so let's dive into imposter syndrome. First, for those who don't know what is that? Can you explain it?
Yes, it's a term that was coined a number of decades ago that really gets at when we can't give ourselves credit for our talents and skills in the workplace, as parents, in our communities.
Hmm.
It really can take a very widespread form. So we walk around comparing ourselves to others and thinking that they're somehow smarter, more advanced, more attractive, more together in their lives, and that we're some kind of fake or phony. And I have to be honest with you, it is such an erosive force. Once we start going down that path of thinking that we're an imposter, it
Hmm.
almost pulls the rug out from under us in terms of what we are are good at and reasons why we've achieved what we've achieved. So very important. And maybe we can get into some tips to actually put aside the hold that the imposter syndrome can have for many of us.
Right. That's so good because it's as if people either feel that they don't belong where they are, that they haven't earned what they've accomplished, and that they're not worthy of moving forward and growing in what they are trying to pursue. And I think that imposter syndrome, people are like, oh, well, I don't know if I have that, but really so many people do. So I would love tips, Dr. Gazelle, that we can share with everyone. How can we overcome such a feeling?
Well, I'll tell you, the most important way we can overcome the imposter syndrome and its erosive impact on us is by recognizing that it's actually just a thought process. It's just a series of thoughts that our mind has almost glommed onto somewhat ferociously, but that we have a choice about whether we believe or not. So, for example, I might be giving a talk, and I might, as I'm giving the talk, start thinking that I'm an imposter. You know, my name is Gail Gazelle, and I can sometimes feel like an imposter, like most of us. And so I can let my mind go down that pathway. Oh, I'm an imposter. I'm a phony. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Other people are better than this at I. Or I can catch that thought process. I can almost say to myself, gosh, there goes my mind again, accusing me of being an imposter. And then we can question the truth of that. We can ask ourselves, well, what's the evidence anyway? You know, where did my mind get this idea? And do I have to keep focusing on this thought? Or can I let this thought simply pass through my mind without attaching to it in the same way? I've seen that be helpful in hundreds of individuals that I've coached.
Yes, yes, that is so good. And speaking of your coaching, I would like to for you to share a little bit about your coaching services. I know that people can learn about on your website.
Well, thank you. So I am a physician myself, and I now coach other physicians and other healthcare professionals. You can get information on that at my site, gailgazelle.com. And physicians really are struggling in the modern healthcare environment, nurses as well, many of us in healthcare. And coaching is a way that we can get help. We can facilitate growth and change. We can learn to question the many thoughts that populate our minds, many of which are actually fake news. So I've seen it be tremendously helpful in getting physicians and nurses out of burnout so that they can stay in the workforce and continue doing all the good that they do.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Gazelle, for sharing those amazing tips and helping us with burnout and imposter syndrome. We appreciate it. And if you would
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And if you would like more information about Dr. Gazelle's services, you can visit her website. We will list it, and we'll be right back.